So when it's all said and done, you actually have to take a little bit of zooming out to understand why PlayStation's boss would come out and say they don't have a lot of successful IPs. And in seeing how even some PlayStation fans still are confounded by that, even when they have a series of IPs that they could leverage, I think the biggest elephant in the room right now that not a lot of people want to talk about is the fact that PlayStation has engaged more in investing in other third-party IPs than its own IPs overall. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. I took a spreadsheet and I called it PlayStation Deals Calculator. This is pretty much a spreadsheet that will show you the games that PlayStation has paid to block from going to Xbox, and in some color coding fashion of my choosing, some of the games that are making their way to other platforms. In some cases, they're going to PC. In some cases, they're going to Xbox. In some cases, both. And how that investment, to me, has never really made any sense. And now that we're seeing a game like Concord pretty much fail, it's not, surprising. And I don't think I have any remorse for the publisher making such a bad decision and putting its own studio at risk. I feel for the developers whom their game did not necessarily land well, but again, the creative direction too has their blame to also partake thereof. So I went around looking at these games. I looked at Final Fantasy VII. Its 3 iterations right now are still exclusive on the PlayStation platform. Many might seem to want to celebrate this as some kind of PlayStation win, but keep this in mind. The game is not a PlayStation game, it's a Square Enix game. Alternatively, what could PlayStation have done with the money that they used to secure these 3 games? That's a very good question. Because now I see PlayStation fans on Twitter, I see PlayStation fans on other platforms asking for games like Bloodborne Remake, asking for games like Sly Cooper, asking for some games like a Siphon Filter, asking for other games that could, in my opinion, appeal to an audience that has matured with PlayStation over many years. But the truth and the reality is, I don't think that these games are going to easily be put into production because the resources that could have been taken to make their way into all of these other, games have been put towards investing them in other titles at the end of the day. So you're seeing this as a result of that, and you celebrated the short-term goal. You celebrated the short-term availability of these games and unavailability of the games on Xbox. And Xbox players were not happy, but most likely these games are going to come to Xbox, and most likely they're going to go to PC. Now, Black Myth Wukong is one that right now is doing well, and there's likely some assistance from PlayStation. And I put it in here because after seeing all that is said and done, neither PlayStation nor Game Science has come out to actually deny that there's any dealings. And so I'm going to take it as, since everybody has spoken, Microsoft, Xbox has spoken, that it's not by any physical hardware concerns that's been raised to them. And even developers have actually chimed in to say, this whole conversation about, the memory leak, which is a rumor or whatnot, it just seems to be that the developers need to optimize their game more than anything else. I mean, the game is not really playing too well on most PCs, even high-end hardware. So it's not surprising to see that if it was playing on hardware that is equivalent to the Series S as like 20-something FPS, that the game still needs a lot of work. So that game is still coming to Xbox. I mean, what could they have done with the money that they used to money had that game? Stellar Blade is also coming to PC, possibly may make its way to Xbox someday, but we don't know. So what was the goal of keeping the game as an exclusive when the funds that were put towards these titles could have made you a Bloodborne? Maybe they could have made you another PlayStation game like Siphon Filter, perhaps could have made you another IP that you enjoy, but you're not going to see those IPs because these funds have gone into these games to block them from going to Xbox, when at the end of the day they still go to Xbox in many cases. Rise of Ronin is another one. This one basically had a huge financial deficit at the end of the day. It's benefited PlayStation because they were able to say, hey, look, our platform has an exclusive. But at the end of the day, the publisher and the developer are basically going to be left holding the bag when it's all said and done. Another few games that have basically been buried under the entire conversation are games like Babylon Fall and games like Godfall. Some of you may or may not remember these 2 games. Godfall came out at the beginning of the PlayStation 5 release. I remember the game because it was on Epic Games. It was like an exclusive on Epic Games. And then it was also a PlayStation 5 exclusive. The game bombed even though it still bombed, believe it or not, the game made its way to Xbox, which is insane. I did not know that the game was going to go to Xbox, because at the end of the day, you would have thought that, because it was an exclusive, it was somehow going to advance the PlayStation, platform. But these money hiding dealings are just so far, to me, a waste. They're not a good use of PlayStation's funds. Then you had Babylon's Fall, which was another game that fell because apparently they wanted to do a live service game and it did not work out well for them. I remember the Steam reviews not necessarily being the hottest. If you go right now, about 483 reviews on Steam. The game reviewed worse than Godfall, and it also failed. Then you go ahead and look at Sifu. Sifu was a timed exclusive on PlayStation and Epic Games Store. It eventually made its way to Steam, and right now is on sale. And if you look at the reviews, doesn't necessarily seem like, it was something that really made a huge hit by the time it came to Steam. By just looking at the reviews at around 11,000, the game did sell close to 3 million units at the end of the day, but I think it could have benefited from a Steam release and an Xbox release. Just like Alan Wake is seeing some challenges, which that studio probably spent more. Thankfully, a game like Sifu would have probably not been too expensive. And I can see from a math perspective where staying on Epic Games for initial sales makes sense, because Epic Games takes a lower cut and possibly they got a good deal from using the Unreal Engine and more than likely got a discount on their 1 million sales, maybe. So I can see a strategic benefit for them, but I just don't see the strategic benefit in this case for PlayStation investing in that platform to basically, from my own suspicions anyways, block it from other platforms. Then you have the Hogwarts Legacy store content, which was something that was exclusive to PlayStation for about a year. I don't know if it's made its way to other platforms yet. Somebody said in my comment section that it hadn't. Then you had Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which is also an Epic Games store and PlayStation timed exclusive. Then you have Death Stranding, which I was actually very surprised that Death Stranding actually eventually came to Game Pass and has been taken off, basically. I think that's one thing. Game Pass actually cycles through these games. So I've seen a lot of people talk about the quality of games on Game Pass and all that, but it's very funny that even after PlayStation went ahead and, financed I don't know, maybe they helped sponsor the game, maybe they helped with the game in one way or the other, that the game still made its way to to Game Pass. Just last year, it's been given away for free, like many other games. So when we weigh all of this, the question you got to ask yourself is, what has been the benefit of these money-hatted games at the end of the day? It's made PlayStation, be in a position where it's perceived to be as a strong platform, but really, it's actually also cheated its own player base from other games that they could have had and other games that they could have enjoyed. And I think this is something that many people have not really talked about, the cost, which is a cost that not only affects PlayStation itself, but in some cases has affected some of the brands, because what you've had is not just, a brand that's affected and not basically making sales because they're locked to the PlayStation console, but a breakage in their brand. So at the end of the day, it's always been anti-consumer and anti-developer and anti-progress in the industry, where gamers playing games is what actually makes the industry vibe more. And even still, if say you were to find yourself in a position where you wanted to, do an exclusive of this sort, you got to be wary about PlayStation and, Xbox players, because they're mostly playing Call of Duty and Epic Games Store's other games. What's even insane is right now, Jez Corden is rumoring that a lot of these games, like Final Fantasy Pixel Remastered and 7 Remake, might be coming to Xbox very soon. And it's being corroborated. If these rumors have any meat to them, then it would have been mostly futile for them to money hat these games while cheating PlayStation fans from the games that they could have gotten that they wanted. If you're still a PlayStation fan, it's good to understand the ramifications of what's been going on in the last few years. Many have critiqued Xbox for not taking this same stance. And I just wanted to say, perhaps Xbox was right all along in making sure it invested its own monies in its own IPs and stay away from the money-hatting thing, because it's just not sexy at the end of the day. But I guess I digress. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys so much. Peace out.